All right, guys, next drill in the series is Krumphau. We like to progress in classes. We're doing this in the same order that the Meisterhauer talked about in the manuals we study. So it goes Zornhau, Krumphau. So Krumphau is the next one in the series. So again, we're going to be in our assumed apartment space, so we're not going to be moving a lot. So for this guy, we're going to start with our sword at the shoulder in a Vom-Tag position. We are going to krump, again a crooked cut that goes across the body like this, right? This is the position we're looking to end our krump in. And then immediately upon ending the krump, we wind it, right? So we've taken this center line, or we've taken the bind, we own the center, and then we immediately wind to make sure that we're not just cutting around, right? We're not overcommitting. This is assuming Krumphau has lots of applications. If you're reading the manuals, which I hope you are, this is specifically the krump against the sword, or krump to the blade, or the flat, krump to the flat it's called. So we're here, we are assuming that our opponent is cutting in with a descending Oberhau from their right side. We are countering that Oberhau. We are krumping as a warning, or as a warding motion. Krumping there, and then as soon as we win that line, and Lichtenauer talks about this specifically, to immediately wind. Now this winding motion in an actual fight can be a wind to a cut, it can be a wind to a thrust, it can be a wind to a lot of different things. Often what happens is it's a wind to an owning of the center line to provoke the next response to the opponent in that moment, to decide, can we thrust in, or in this moment we're owning it, are they aware of the threat? If they're not, maybe they're cutting around, and now we can ward on that side and come in and kill them. Do whatever we want. Anyway, so that's why we are not just training the Krumphau alone, because anytime you're krumping to the flat, you should also be automatically taking that wind to take the center line, present the short edge and the point. Now that's not to say, a lot of times in class I'll see people doing these and they'll bring the sword over and just bring that point on here. It's essentially, they're doing it like a shield house. They're starting their Krumphau, but they're not letting it extend, and they're just taking that point there. As we're doing these, I'm going to do it fast, and you might miss it. Hopefully I'm doing it correctly. You can play with the speed on YouTube or whatever. Ideally, what we're looking for is to krump over. That sword is just outside of their shoulder, right? My point is pointing a little bit outside of their shoulder. My arms are getting crossed, and from this position, I'm snapping to wind that point forward, right? So this crossed arm position puts us in a place where we have a lot of, we generate a lot of potential energy to make this snap really quick and take that center line. If you just krump like this, you're kind of muscling that wind over. Whereas if you do that full extension, it makes that wind all the faster, if that makes sense. Okay, so we are at the shoulder. We're krumping across. Importantly, the hands are not staying in front of the shoulder. We're not krumping here. We're not krumping here. We're krumping here. So the hands are all the way across the body. We want our whole body in the shadow of that sword. A lot of people, the way they throw this Krumphau is like this, and what they end up doing is guiding the sword away from the head into their arm or shoulder, right? So we want to make sure we're not guiding their sword onto our arm, and so that we're krumping all the way across. Okay? So we take our krump, we're here, we krump across, and then as we're flying, still the krump is in motion. The right hand, or the lead hand, it almost like it keeps on descending and holding the center as the left hand pulls back and snaps into that wind position. So it's not two motions. I'm not doing this, right? I'm doing this. Right, that's what we're looking for. So make sure that sword gets all the way over, and only when the wrists meet, we're winding, all right? From the other side, it's a little harder to do on this side, but it can work. We are going to krump across and then take that center line. And of course, as we do the drill, it is, tube across, drift to the shoulder, crimp across, wind, shoulder. Right? This is a big warding motion. It's essentially a parry and a cut. That's the way we train it. That's the way I like it. Make sure you're not cutting all the way to the side. Even though that sword blade is flying out to the side, we're still putting ourselves in a position where we can project force forward, right? We're not cutting way out to the side like this. We are cutting to this wind, to this hanging position, and then shooting, right? From the side. Okay. Some variations on this one. Similar to the other variations we've done. Again, our default for everything when we train is to not extend, because we always want extension to be a choice. So as I do these, normally I will crimp over, and then assuming the sword's like right here, I'll wind just to take that center line and I'll keep it close. A variation that is really easy to do is the crump and then thrust out. Or even crump out long and then thrust. Right? I really like the thrusting one. I think it's really nice to do these drills, get your point on line, and then train yourself when you have that line, when you win it, to go ahead and take the extension. So I highly recommend doing that one. Again, crimp across, wind, thrust, bring it back. Crimp across, wind, thrust, bring it back. I think that's the big one. As you're doing this, really envision someone cutting at you. Really envision that you're having to generate force to knock that sword out of the way. And then obviously when really fighting with a step. Right? Other tweaks are, as you take that wind, it would be a thrust. You can take the wind in a way that feels more like a short edge cut. So really feel like you're reaching out to clock them on top of the head. Right? Etc. Yeah. So think about that. Again, make sure you're staying nice and tight. Get all of that Krumphau. Make sure those wrists are crossing. And then make sure as soon as you have that full extension on the crump, your point is just out a little bit to the side, wind it back, take the center line. All right, guys, that's it. Stay safe, stay sane, bye.